Can the Hellions retrieve an important piece of technology from enemy hands, or will they end up getting cleansed in holy fire? Well, let's hop into the pages of Hellions issue number 8 and find out together, shall we? So then, picking up from where the last issue had left off, Mr. Sinister had sent his ragtag team of mutants to go and retrieve Nanny's ship. Unfortunately for our team, the ship had fallen into the hands of one Cameron Hodge, mutant-hating supremacist, and former cyborg who's managed to take control of a bunch of Nanny's own machines and turn them against mutant kind. You know, an average day at the office for the X-Men. It's Havoc who's quick to bring up the fact, hey, Cameron Hodge, weren't you dead before? Like, really seriously dead? Only for him to turn it around and say, oh, you're one to talk, mutants, weren't you all dead just last week? And if that wasn't funny enough, this book continues with the comedic 1-2 punches as Cameron Hodge is about to go on a big long spiel about how he was able to cheat death only to have Wild Child and Nanny literally run past him, their text boxes covering up his text box. Yes, it would seem their rebirth following the events of X of Swords have actually really changed Nanny and Wild Child. Because of that, they're actually way more proactive than they've ever been before. In fact, they may actually end up being the two most competent members of the Hellions team now, if you can imagine it. Now, while those two run ahead to try and recapture the ship, it's up to Havoc, Psylocke, Grey Crow, and the rest to do battle with Hodge's killer robots. It's an uphill fight to say the least, as Hodge is using the power of the techno-organic virus to actually interface with these machines. They are literally an extension of his thoughts now. Why, he can even further use the powers of these machines to interfere with the Hellions' own given abilities, turning them off. But here's the rub though, the robots don't exactly want to go along with Hodge, and he really has to force them to do his bidding. In fact, as we soon discover, two of these killer robots have actually been able to keep their own code intact away from Hodge's corrupting algorithm, but unfortunately Nanny and Wild Child didn't know any of that and kill them anyway. Wah wah, dark comedy misunderstandings. In fact, speaking of dark, we actually get a real sinister little bit of dialogue from Wild Child speaking to Nanny about how Amnynth isn't done with them yet, implying that whatever may have become of them after their resurrection is continuing to still happen, and there's no way to tell if they're friend or foe at this point. Now, with the chips down and everything looking like it's lost, a hero does indeed end up rising to the occasion, and that is Empath of all people. Keeping with his current cowardly characterization, he had run off before the fight with the robots had started, only to be dragged back, quite literally kicking and screaming. The hope is that if he could get close enough to Hodge, he could use his powers to control people's minds and emotions to turn the fight in the favor of his team. Here's the problem though. When Empath attempts to get inside Cameron Hodge's head, he quickly realizes that there's nothing there. At first you think he's making fun of him by calling him dumb and saying that his head is empty, but no, there's actually no brain in there. And that's because this isn't actually Cameron Hodge back from the dead at all. This is a robot that merely thinks it's Cameron Hodge. In fact, it doesn't even know it's a robot at all. Robo Hodge is so distraught by this revelation, he decides to test a theory by putting its own life on the line, by telling the robots to kill him, knowing that if he truly was the real deal flesh and blood Cameron Hodge, that the robots wouldn't be able to turn on their master, only he's not, and they do, and they destroy him. And with that, the robots are essentially free of Hodge's control, and wouldn't you know it, when they don't have a crazy religious zealot pulling their strings, they're actually not bad dudes, these robots. Why, Alex even ends up making quick friends with them and thanks them for saving their lives, but of course this is a Hellions book, and you can't have a happy ending. You see, once Psylocke clues into the idea that the techno-organic virus has changed these robots so much that they are developing their own artificial intelligence, it's very clear what must be done here. To save mutant kind and stop the rise of Master Mold and the Sentinels, all artificial intelligence must be snuffed out by mutant kind wherever they can find it. This actually leads to a really interesting and really compelling little scene between Psylocke and Grey Crow. Psylocke knows that she's gonna have to kill an entire thinking, feeling group of beings right now. And because that's probably gonna weigh on her a lot, Grey Crow actually offers to step on in and be the one to upload the virus. But get this, Psylocke, sensitive of Greycrow's own growth as a human being, says that he doesn't always need to be the one to take that weight, doesn't always need to be the one to be the killer. And because this series loves giving Alex Summers as much trauma as humanly possible, his brand new robot friends literally die in his arms, talking about on loop how the mutants are their new friends. Ouch. Now that's pretty messed up right there, but believe it or not, there's an even more messed up silver lining. NANNY'Bot got her ship back, which means that she's going to be able to build a brand new suit for ORPHAN-MAKER. But that's not all Nanny got either. She was sure to pick up another souvenir, a little baby robot complete with the same techno-organic AI that was such a problem before. Meaning that the threat of AI against mutant kind is still far from over as the comic comes to a close. And so that was Hellions issue number 8, everybody, and once again Zeb Wells manages to offer up one heck of a smorgasbord of comic book content. You got dark comedy, you got ultra-violence, you got superhero action, as well as science fiction discussions about sentiency and the soul of machines. I mean, really, what's not to love here? In fact, I love the fact that this whole mutants versus AI plotline that had been built up so much in House of X and Powers of X came back here of all places. I also gotta feel like this whole running joke of Alex Summers Havoc more or less being the most positive and upright hero of the Hellions continues to get kicked in the metaphorical nuts over and over. And a big question moving forward seems to be how much is Havoc going to be able to take being a member of the Hellions before it completely makes him snap under the pressure. Overall, I'd give this one a very much deserved 8.5 out of 10.
Hey there everyone, Cape Joel again, and I want to thank you so much for watching to the end of the video. As always, if you liked what you see, be sure to like, subscribe, comment. It really helps drive engagement and helps me out too. Also, if you are a patron, which you can become for as little as $1 a month, you will get exclusive content that no one else can ever see, and you'll get to see the Comic Multiverse podcast before anyone else too. You can check out all this and more down in the description. And until next time everyone, this has been Cape Joel, and I'll see you all next time. Cheers.